Okay, Paul, thanks for joining me. Had a brilliant squad day today here in Liverpool. Just talk us through your thoughts on the session.
Superb session. Coach Paul Rimmer, the head coach of Next Gen, very kindly allowed us into the gym. More importantly, he shared his coaching methodologies with us, which were absolutely amazing. I think all of the athletes had a really good chance at seeing what part of MMA and how the Next Gen structure fits together. We also had an amazing session where we actually saw Molly McCann, the UFC fighter, actually deliver those principles in a training session for the team. So all in all, an excellent squad session just before we go to the Euros.
How important are these days for the squad to come down here, learn from new people in order to perform on the big stage and the European stage?
Well, I think that goes back to the fact that the UK has some really high-level coaches and a rich history in MMA, and that's only just been proven lately. Leon Edwards just winning the world title. In terms of Next Gen, obviously we've got Paddy, Molly working out of here, but the structure that these guys are working to is critical in that development. And I think, when we look at the other people we've got, for the squad to come together to get a high-level coach's viewpoint, to work together. This is an individual endeavour in terms of getting the cage on your own, but the structure behind it, your team, is very, very important. The difference for us as EMMA is that the IMMAF structure is different than this normal one fight, one opponent, and you know where it is. So the idea of the squad being together is fantastic. The idea of being able to take away information from our lead main coaches, our lead coaches in the UK, is even more important.
And then last of all, just overall thoughts on how Emma's grown while you've been a part of it. Leading up to this Euros, obviously there's going to be more confidence because of the squad and how much that's developed.
Yes, I think when I first came on board, since then we've developed the coaching team. So we've got US veteran Vaughan Leigh, US veteran Dave Lee, who's head coach at Crossface, Patrick Martin, who's head of GB Derby, which is a successful team. We've got Coach Canby from Fearless Wrestling, and we're also looking at situations like today where we're here at Next Gen. So the actual development of the squad, we hold regular training days. We've got a process of application that, if you want to be an amateur fighter, fight for your country, represent your country at the IMMAF Europeans or the Worlds, you can do that too. So those things have moved along progressively. We're now going, in January we went out with a team of 8. We're going to go out with a team of 18 athletes to Italy for the Europeans. I believe this squad is very strong. We've got multiple promotional champions from our affiliates, so Almighty, Golden Ticket. I know we've got Fight Star on board. So in terms of actual development and connection to the UK community, I think that's come on massively, and I think that will reflect when we get out to Italy.
What are your thoughts overall on the day? Obviously Paul Rimmer leading the session, but another successful one.
To be honest, I think it was a really exciting day because more than anything, the squad, you could see, took a lot from it, especially game plan, how to win fights. There was a lot of positive talk, not how to be defensive, how to be offensive, but you've got to say a big shout out to Paul and the team because they delivered something special for the team, and the team interacted well. Being able to watch Molly and actually, she's setting out her game plan and watching it for that three-minute rounds was fantastic as well. So just a great day to see the squad together, collaborating together. Ultimately for me, it's like, everything was about what we're going to do when we get to Italy, and that's the most important thing.
How important is it, with that being said, for them to get this experience at a big gym like this a month before, for them to all gel as a team as well? I know they're fighting on their own. How important are days like this to get that extra experience with top coaches?
Yeah, I think it's important for many reasons. It's the gym of Paddy Pimblett, it's the gym of Molly McCann, and many others up-and-coming, Cage Warrior stars, etc., etc. So I think it's important because they know the integrity of the success of the gym, mainly. When they're talking about coaching techniques, patterns that they use, all this kind of stuff, it's kind of tried and tested. So I think it's always good to go and get I guess, get outside your gym environment and see other things going on. But I think because it was, we weren't working on just a certain technique, we were working on winning fights today. That's the big change for me. It's we're talking about the competition, how to set yourself up, how to think about winning fights, how to prepare. We've had a long chat about performance for the next 3 weeks with the team as well. So it's great for the team because what we're setting is the mindset of winning. We're not thinking about, the difficulties we might face against the European wrestlers and all this kind of stuff. We were talking about winning.
Let's talk a bit more on that, and could you expand on what you mean? There was a lot of talk on confidence in fight camps, so that on the night, that's the main thing, you are confident. Could you expand on what you mean by the mindset?
I think sometimes, and Paul Rimmer explained this, you're kind of doing a camp where maybe you're trying to negate your opponent's technique all the time. So in many ways, that's creating a negative mindset. I'm building my plan to try and defend. I think what we're trying to say is that you keep your plan, keep good to what you're good at. You know your opponent, but actually keeping a positive frame of mind. We're coaching you to win, not to defend, not to be defensive. The strategies he was talking about to deal with some of the things we know that IMMAF will bring because of the style. But it was more about setting them all out in a positive mindset, how to win fights. When you look at Paul's coaching, practice, technique, ethos, it's about how to win fights. That may be a language that's not always used at times. Maybe we study opponents and think, what can we do to stop him doing that? That's fair enough, but maybe that creates the negative side of it. What we're saying today is that this is what we need to do to win fights.
And then one more thing while we have you here, Paul. On the fight before the fight, the weight cuts, you had a word with all the athletes after the session, how important that is. What work are you doing with the team before the Euros?
Yeah, so obviously something close to my heart and super important, especially to us all on the performance board. But for me, number one, basic principles, weigh your fighter, know where they are. I'm going to be a little bit outspoken. If anybody's going out to same-day weigh-ins, or actually thinking that people don't cut weight for same-day weigh-ins, then I would say you're mega casual, because they do. What my job is to weigh them today and make sure that nobody's in any kind of dangerous position, I class it as position that is too much, or maybe I'd even take them out from competing. Nobody was, so there's number one. But I guess, how have we influenced that? Well, because they know they're going to get weighed in today, number one. The most important thing then we spoke to them about is what to do for the next 3 weeks. Training load, how to eat for anybody. And there's a few that's got a little bit to do, but it's well within the range we'd expect, so it's fine. But mainly how to eat, how to fuel, how to train, not to overtrain. Even Paul touched on that from a technical background. Shouldn't be killing yourself now, should be about peaking. All about peaking now. Ultimately for me, it's about trying to teach them kind of how to fuel for the next 3 weeks, ultimately to turn up on weight and then to make weight for the 4 to 5 days they need to. That for me is the biggest part of the sport that maybe there's a lack of understanding in. So we keep talking in that language to the team. What I'm proud of, everybody's going to make weight, no problem at all.
And I'm going to ask you one more actually. The Four Nations was so successful. It's obviously done now, but looking back, what did you learn from that in order to build for the future as well? Because that's not going to be the last Four Nations, but also there's so many things that we need to look forward to in the future and grow and learn as well from.
Yeah, I think Four Nations first and foremost was a massive success, and we get that. I think, what do we learn from it? We need probably to build a squad. I want to give more opportunity out. We want the other countries to have a bigger influence in that as well. There was a little bit about the kind of weight cutting was taking place, but nobody missed weight. It's an important thing. I was aware of people cutting weight, so I'd like to give more education around that. Fundamentally though, massive success that people want, and by the way, people are already asking, and guys, there will be 4 Nations next year. Not sure if we could do something like a 6 Nations. I have kind of touched on that, whether we have the ability to do it. It is going to take place. For me, we want more squad members, we want a bigger squad, we want more members obviously, but I'd like to get a national championship, and as we've said before, into 4 Nations before it sets us up to, like, in the next few weeks for the Euros, and then finish with the Worlds. I think what we want is people see that the 4 Nations is the place to get your amateurs competing, and we kind of maybe switch from a 1-day competition to a 3-day tournament.